Yo, you guys, what is good, man? Welcome back to Real United Talk, where we talk about all matters Real Madrid and Man United. This is going to be a real talk episode because there's been some big updates to our squad. We watched the game against Marseille yesterday. We saw that Bellingham and Camavinga were on the bench. Obviously, they didn't get any game time. They just come back from injury, so they need to take time to get back into the squad and everything. But like back in the squad, meaning that it's time for them to get some minutes, man. Meaning that things might have to change. But the question that we need to ask right now is what is going to change? That's what we're going to talk about in this episode. So with that, let's just get into it, man. So yeah, Bellingham and Camavinga are back in the squad, and these are two different profiles of players. These are two midfielders, but different profiles of player. Bellingham is more of like an advanced 8/calm, and Camavinga is deeper, like kind of like a box-to-box midfielder slash DM. And I've seen them in the past. We know where they play. We know how they like to play. But the thing about it is that like a player like Bellingham, for example, like he had kind of like a different role before he came to Madrid. Like at Dortmund, he was more of like a box-to-box midfielder. Now Madrid, he's still like a box-to-box midfielder. He does play that box-to-box role. He's always helping in defense and helping in attack and everything. But like he's more advanced than he was at Dortmund. And since he came to Madrid under Carlo, he was playing that calm. He was basically playing as like a false nine, but he was still playing in that midfield role and everything. And then last season, he kind of dropped deeper a bit when Mbappe came. But it was still like more advanced. It was still more of like a calm, but again, still kind of playing that like box to box run. A player like Camavinga, I've seen him a lot of times. He's either playing that DM or playing like a box to box role. I think a lot of times they actually do put him in DM, maybe putting him like in place of like Tchouaméni or something. But yeah, we've seen Camavinga multiple times in DM. I've seen him in left back as well. Obviously, that's not his natural position. He doesn't like playing there, but he does it when he has to. But I feel like a player like Camavinga, yeah, I feel like he's a bit like his development hasn't gone the way that would have wanted it to. He's not as far in his development as would have wanted, and that's not like necessarily his fault. He has a lot of injury problems, and also like Madrid is just like a star-studded team. Like there's just too many players in the team right now, especially in midfield, so it's so hard for him to get into the squad. And he doesn't really have a role per se. He doesn't really have a particular position. Like he's one of them guys that you put him in DM today, you put him in CM tomorrow, you put him in left back the other day again, not a left back, but you get what I mean. He just has multiple positions. He's one of those guys that you can't really say he's a this, he's a that. You can't really say he's a DM. You can't really say we know that generally I think he's more of like a box to box midfielder. I think that that's his best role in a team. But just given the amount of players that we have that play there, I don't think that he can really compete with those guys. He can't compete with the likes of Valverde, or he can't compete with them, but Valverde is a man that plays every single game, right? So it's just so hard for him to get into the team and everything. And also with the injuries as well that keep him out of the squad for long periods of time, he just hasn't come as far in his development that he would have liked. Like a player like Tchouaméni right now, I know that Tchouaméni is older, but he's further in his development. He's where we would have thought he would be. Obviously, he has played CB a lot of times, and we haven't really seen him in DM too much. Just because, he has to always fill in CB or something. But we're seeing Tchouaméni in DM this season a lot more. I've seen him in DM in the past. We saw what he was at Monaco. We know he's a very good player. So Tchouaméni is not even a problem. Camavinga is also not a problem, but at the same time, he's just not as fine in his development as we would have liked. But I don't think that that's through any fault of his own. Obviously, he can maybe do better in some aspects of his game and everything. I feel like Camavinga has some things that he needs to brush up on. I think he's still a bit rash in his challenges at times, getting into a tackle that he doesn't necessarily need to get into, and that can make him less dependable, which is why you not necessarily trust him in a DM role, for example, as your sole pivot. And also he doesn't have the physical presence to be a sole pivot. You see a player like Tchouaméni, you can see how built he is. He has a presence in that midfield. I feel like Camavinga doesn't really have a presence, which is why I think that his best position is a box to box role. I think that that's actually his best position. He's pacey, he has skills, he's good at passing. He's good on the ball. He can receive the ball from the back four, but he can also progress the ball and everything. So I feel like his best role is a box to box role. But Valverde is already there, and they have a player like Bellingham who can also play that role. So I feel like with Camavinga, it's just kind of shaky. What do you do with him and everything? But he is a player that needs to get game time at the end of the day. He's not a bad player. We all know that he's a good player, very talented player. Any team will be lucky to have him. So yeah, he does need to get game time. But the thing about it is that how is this going to work now? How are they going to fit into this Xabi Alonso system? Because we haven't really seen either of them under Xabi Alonso. Bellingham can do his shoulder surgery at some point in the Club World Cup. I can't remember when he left, but he went to do the shoulder surgery. Camavinga, I'm not sure if he has played any game under Xabi Alonso. I'm not even sure if he has been involved in the squad under Xabi Alonso. I actually can't remember. Well, I can't remember if he was involved in the Club World Cup. But yeah, like these are two players that actually need to like prove the role. Like they actually have to like get a role in the Xabi Alonso system. The question now is where, because things right now are working. Whatever Xabi Alonso is doing right now is working. We're 4-4 in La Liga. We just won our game against Marseille. And one of the main things that we're seeing him do is the two left footers in attack. Now, in attack, he's playing Adagula and he's playing Mastantino slash Brahim Diaz. So he's playing Adagula in calm and he's playing Mastantino slash Brahim Diaz in right wing. And I think that that's for the balance. I've said this so many times. I said it last season that Brahim Diaz slash Adagula playing brings balance. And that was only one player at the time. I even felt like two of them should have been playing at the same time to bring that balance to the team that we needed. Like to have that like Di Maria x Ozil vibe when Ronaldo and Benzema were there, kind of thing. Like that type of thing brings balance. Like I feel like Rodrigo, Vini, and Mbappe just doesn't work. And I think that Xabi Alonso has clocked onto that, which is why like Rodrigo is not even competing for a right wing spot. If you have noticed, like Rodrigo would never just come on and then Vini and Mbappe on steady pitches. Either coming, he's probably coming on for Vini if he's coming on. So right now, Vini and Rodrigo are competing for that left wing spot. Rodrigo is no longer competing for the right wing spot. But yeah, I think that right wing spot is reserved for a left footer right now. I think it is reserved for either Mastantino or Brahim Diaz. You could say Adagula as well, but like I don't think that Xabi Alonso sees Adagula in right wing anymore. I think that like we thought about Adagula earlier on as like a right winger slash calm kind of thing, but now I think Xabi Alonso thinks about it more like a calm slash CM, which is working out for him so far. Nowadays he's playing further up the pitch, he's playing calm. I think that when Xabi Alonso first came in, he was playing like a bit deeper, but right now he's playing calm because now we're playing the 4-2-3-1 formation and it's working out for him. The partnership that he's developing with Mbappe looks class, man. Like it looks like a partnership that can actually help us do big things this season and everything. I'm happy with that. So I feel like a player like Adagula, who maybe wasn't as sure in the team last season, has become a lot more sure in the team this season. I feel like, he's one of the first names on the team sheets with Xabi Alonso. So the question now is that, like, what do you do when Bellingham comes back? Because we know that in this type of formation, Bellingham does play calm, or like, that's where we've put him in the past. So what do you do when Bellingham comes back? Do you bench Adagula? Do you put him deeper? And if you put him deeper, what happens with Valverde slash Tchouaméni? Like, there's just so many questions that need to be answered. I don't know if Xabi Alonso has any plans of like just full on benching Bellingham, but like the amount of balance that players like Adagula and Mastantino are bringing to the team, like I don't think he wants to mess with that as well. So what do we do? There's multiple things that we can do, but like I'm not sure if these are things that you actually plan on doing. But I think that one of the first things that we can do is look to drop in Bellingham to like a deeper role, kind of like getting back in that box to box midfield role and everything that he played at Dortmund. And the reason why I say that is because like I don't want to mess with that balance. Like as much as like Bellingham can easily slot back into the calm, play right behind Mbappe, do his box to box thing from calm, like just cover all the ground from calm and everything. I feel like that balance is just so good. Like I feel like that balance is what is helping us with like this whole Vini and Mbappe situation. That's why if you notice like nobody's really complaining about it. Yes, Vini is not really playing his best football and Rodrigo is here and there. But like nobody's really complaining, nobody's really saying that okay, this is why Madrid is not doing well right now. So I feel like that balance is what is helping us right now, is what is helping us look so good and so dominant. And I don't really want to mess with that. So I think that one of the major solutions is putting Bellingham back in the box to box role. The problem with that now is that what happens with Tchouaméni slash Valverde, because Tchouaméni has proven to be like a rock in midfield. Like I feel like last season, a lot of times was playing in defense, so like it didn't really matter. But I feel like this season right now, Tchouaméni is playing a lot in midfield. So it's like, what do you now do? So what happens if you put Bellingham there? What happens with Valverde and everything? Because we're playing the 4-2-3-1. It looks like that's Xabi Alonso's preferred formation. If we move to a 4-3-3, maybe it becomes a bit easier, but it really doesn't as well because like you still have to put Valverde somewhere, you still have to put Tchouaméni somewhere. Adagula is not getting benched for anybody. So it's just a bit confusing right now. Just because like I think I know what Xabi Alonso prefers to do. It's just like how does he execute it, right? But like I think Bellingham going to a deeper role might be what will work for Madrid. And what happens with that is that like Valverde might have to move to right back. And that's kind of crazy to say, that's kind of mad to say, but it's something that we have seen in the past, something that we've seen him do. I think with Valverde, he's very good at covering like the right, like right wing, right CM, right back. He's very good at covering the right. I've seen him play right back, and like he didn't look out of position I've seen him play right wing. He didn't look out of position. Like, he never looks out of position when you put him on the wings and everything. So I feel like one of the solutions, like this is just like a potential solution. I'm not saying that this is what we should do, but a potential solution to Bellingham playing a box-to-box role is Valverde playing right back. And with that, you're now thinking about, oh, what happens with Trent? What happens with Carvajal? Trent just got injured, just got a hamstring injury that can actually keep him out of the team for a long period of time. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But like, that eliminates one problem, and it's like, oh, what happens with Carvajal? And Carvajal recently got a red card against Marseille in the Champions League game. So it's like, okay, do you test it against Kairat in the next Champions League game? Do you put Valverde in right back, and then do you put Bellingham in the box to box role? I think that will actually be the best game to, like, test it out. Like, Carvajal is not going to play, Trent is not going to play, Valverde is free. So what do you do, right? I think that that's actually the best game to test it out. And now another thing that we can do is move Tchouaméni centre back. That's another potential solution. I'm not suggesting these solutions, like I said, but these are just things that we can do. And with the Tchouaméni centre back thing, it's actually something that we can test out in our upcoming La Liga games because, as you know, Hoyson got a red card, so he's not going to play the next few La Liga games and everything. So if you move Tchouaméni to centre back in those games, because I don't think that we trust Asensio quite so soon, but like I think that um we can actually test out in our upcoming La Liga games, like moving Tchouaméni centre back. I've seen him play centre back so many times. I don't think that he plays bad at centre back, but he's not his best position, and he doesn't really show the player that he is. But it's something that we can do in our upcoming games and everything. Like put Tchouaméni in centre back next to Eden Militao in La Liga, Valverde in CM next to Bellingham. You can play your Masnatuno, play your Adagula, and then just go about your day. But right now, these are those things that we can do in the moment. Like, games are going to start coming thick and fast and everything. So we are going to have to rotate our teams and everything. So, like, whoever is playing might not play the next game kind of thing. But, like, at the same time, as those games are coming thick and fast, like, the intensity of the games also coming thick and fast because, like, the Champions League go to move on to knockout phases. Knockout phases, you can't really play about your starting extra and everything. You play your standard starting extra. When Copa del Rey games come and everything, depending on the team they are playing, depending on the round they are in, that determines the squad that you put on the pitch and everything. But I feel like with the games coming thick and fast, with the amount of games we're going to play this season, it's not necessarily be a problem how we're going to rotate the squads and everything. But at the same time, like, these are players that have to play. Camavinga less so. I'm going to talk about him in a bit. Camavinga less so, but I feel like a player like Bellingham is like, oh, how do you fit him in without altering the balance that I've already created for the team right now? Like I said, Bellingham playing in calm is not going to be a bad thing. It's not even going to make the team worse or anything. But I just feel like there's just so much balance on the pitch right now with the way that we play with Adagula and Constantino / Prime Diaz that, like, I just feel like putting Bellingham there will kind of like alter it. So, like, I just feel like Xabi Alonso can look into making Bellingham a box-to-box midfielder again. Test it out in the upcoming games in La Liga and Champions League, given our injury and red card situation in both competitions. Test it out in both competitions. Rudiger is out for a long period of time. Trent is out for a long period of time. So, like, and Carvajal just came back from an ACL injury. You can't really back him week in, week out. You can't really back Asensio week in, week out. Like, he's not really dependable right now. So these are things that we can actually test in our upcoming games up until these guys come back from injury and everything. And then you just see how it works out, man. Just see how it works out. I'm not saying that these are the long-term solutions. I'm not even saying that these are the permanent solutions or anything like that. Like, because, like, I don't want Valverde to be playing right back for the rest of his life. I don't want Tchouaméni to play center back for the rest of his life. But, like, just to make things work and not alter the balance that I've created, this is something that we can do. But with a player like Camavinga, you're not really making big changes to the squad for him. I feel bad for Camavinga at times just because, like, like I said, like, he's just playing in a team full of stars and everything. And as much as he can do more to become one of those stars that have to play, it's just so hard to get into the team right now. Obviously, now you can look at a player like Constantino or Adagula even and just be like, yeah, they did it right. Like, they got into the team. Adagula wasn't playing last season. Now he's one of the first players on the team sheet. And Constantino just came to the team and now, he's playing week in, week out. So, like, you're looking at Camavinga who has been there for a few years and you're thinking, like, oh, you can do more to actually get into the team and everything. At least be one of the players that has to play. And I think that Camavinga is a player that will play. Not necessarily has to play, but that will play. But at the same time, like, you don't really make big changes for him. You don't really say, okay, this is what we did to make it work for Camavinga kind of thing. And, I've seen Camavinga play well. I've seen Camavinga play some games that I'm thinking that, like, if he continues playing like this, like, I don't see any problem. Like, again, that Arsenal game, I've talked about it in the past. That Arsenal game, in the Champions League, the one that you got the red card in, before he got that red card, I feel like he was having the best game he has had in a Real Madrid shirt, honestly, in that Arsenal game. Before the red card, I feel like he was having the best game in a Real Madrid shirt. That game was so weird from him because on the one hand, was having a beautiful game, then on the other hand, did he score an own goal or something like, or did he give you a pass? I can't remember. And then he got a red card or something. So, like, I feel like that Arsenal game was just so weird from Camavinga, and which is what has been his Real Madrid career. Like, his Real Madrid career has been weird because sometimes, like, he looks undroppable. He looks like one of the best midfielders in the world. And the next thing you know, like, we're thinking, oh, wow, like, we need to bench Camavinga because, like, he's not really consistent. He's not really dependable kind of thing. So I feel like his Real Madrid career in as a whole has been weird. So you don't really make changes for Camavinga. You don't really make the team work around Camavinga. You don't really say, okay, I have to bench this guy so that Camavinga can play or anything. And it's like, where does he play under Xabi Alonso? Like, does he play in a DM role? Does he play in a box-to-box role? Like, where does he play? Like, where does Xabi Alonso fit him in? Because Xabi Alonso hasn't really used him. He hasn't really fully met him on the pitch and everything. So, like, where does he play? That's something that's going to be interesting to see. I do feel like he's a talent that we can actually use. We can get the best out of him. But, like, I'm actually scared for Camavinga a bit because, like, I feel like out of all the players right now that we have, he's like the most vulnerable. Like, he's the most dispensable. Like, if the transfer window came and we need to sell one person, it will be Camavinga. If we need to sign somebody and we need to sell somebody in return, it will be Camavinga. With the whole Nico Paz news coming into play and everything, that Real Madrid want Nico Paz back, like what happens with Camavinga? Like, I know that Nico Paz and Camavinga don't play the same position, but like I feel like with the whole thing, like it's going to be a domino effect where Camavinga eventually leaves Real Madrid. I'm going to make a whole episode about that. So like, I'm going to analyze what that will look like. But yeah, I fear for Camavinga because I feel like out of everybody right now, his Real Madrid career is like the most at risk and everything. And just the amount of injuries that he gets and everything is not really helping his situation because like he never gets the chance to actually like solidify his place in the team kind of thing. And even when he's back from injury, like he can't really get into the team over your likes of Valverde and Tchouaméni kind of thing. So yeah, I feel bad for him to an extent, but at the same time, like, we just have to do what's better for the team. We don't necessarily have to make room for this one person kind of thing that hasn't even proven to be a consistent player or anything like that. So, like, we don't have to do anything to make way for him. But, like, maybe we can try one or two things here and there and everything. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes with Camavinga. We'll see how that goes with Bellingham. But I actually want to see what Xabi Alonso does. Like, this is actually, like, going to be a test for him. I know that right now we don't really have a full squad with like all these players getting injured and all these players getting red cards, so we don't really have a full squad. So maybe this is not even going to be the biggest testing phase right now. Like he actually has the freedom to actually like experiment given the amount of players that are out. But I feel like when he has a full squad again, like it's actually going to be a test. Like it's going to test his resolve. Is he set on the two left footers in attack? Is he set on his pivot right now, or Tchouaméni or Valverde? Is he set on his formation right now? Like that is actually going to be very interesting to see. And actually I want to see what he does with that. But yeah, with that comes the end of this episode. Let me know what you guys think. Where do you think that Bellingham fits into Xabi Alonso's system? What do you think that Camavinga fits into Xabi Alonso's system? What do you think that Xabi Alonso is going to do to make way for these players? Let me know all of that in the comments. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm going to try and stay consistent, keep on pushing out episodes, and I just hope to see you guys again next time. Safe.